Okay, guys, I just want to show one thing real quick. Um, so I just put one quick little note in the lesson plan, which is that you can, which is how to switch your Heroku environment over to development. So if you like sort of want to test this thing out online, well, this is how you would do that. You would go into your app. And then this is going to be setting an environment variable, actually. Rails uses environment variables to tell itself whether or not it's in production, development, or the test environment. What you do is Heroku config, I'll make this bigger, config set Rails env equals development. And before I do that, so I just went to artist/1 up here. I haven't seeded my database yet, so there's nothing in here. So now I'm getting that sort of generic 404 page telling us that Jen messed up the app. If I set, or if I run this part right here, okay, it says setting config vars and restarting tuner Robin Redux. Config vars, that's another way of saying environment variables, and this env, well, that stands for environment. So we're changing the environment. Now if I go up here and I go to /artist/1, I should get, I may need to sign in again. I need to sign in again. Nope, I didn't delete the data. Well, yeah, I did delete the database, but now there just aren't any artists in it. Okay, here we go. So now I'm getting the one that we get when we're local. I'm getting the error message that I get when we're local. So if you want to just sort of debug this thing online, this is one thing you could do. I would strongly advise against it when you have people actually using your app, because remember, this is completely switching which database you're using. So your users might not be too happy about that.
So it would be the same error.
Yeah.
What would be the advantages in doing this? Like, why would someone do this? Just if they wanted to work on it and they didn't have access to their computer?
Yeah, well, I would say, I mean, for me, I'm paranoid, and I like to make sure that things are running appropriately after I put them online. There really shouldn't be any difference between this one on Heroku and whatever I have on my computer, but I like to sort of reassure myself by checking out things like this anyway. And so this is how I would do that. But it's not something I would do really with a live app. At any rate, to change it back, you do the exact same thing, except just type in production over here. There we go. And now when I'm back here, I'm just refreshing the page. Probably need to sign in again.
Test out everything. You get to the point where you think everything is good to go on your local host, then check it out on the internet to see if there's any, basically one of those before it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've written adequate tests for this, RSpec stuff, I don't think you guys have had the RSpec class yet. That'll be this afternoon. If you've done that, then that should take care of all of it for you. But even when I have tests, I'm still paranoid, and I still like to go in and play around and make sure there's nothing that I miss. Yeah. That's a good question. It's probably not something you would do, but instead something they would do, where they would switch it over to development, and then they would switch it back to production. They would want to test out both. Good question. Anything else?
Where of the course description for today's lesson is specified?
It is at the end. I just added it in, so you may need to refresh the page. Cool. All right, so the next thing I'd like to do is just a little thing with the Rails asset pipeline. I've mentioned that term before. I would say this is the other thing that really sort of messes up people's flow, is this asset pipeline. When we talk about assets, well, you can see some of them over here, like in here. When I look at assets and I look inside this folder, I see images, JavaScripts, and style sheets. So those are examples of assets. They're things that aren't like, they're not code that governs the backend, they're not code that governs the view, but they're just other things that are somehow used in your app. And so images, I would say those are like some of the most tricky ones. But additionally, I'm thinking about in the last class, we had this group that wanted to use a custom font in their app. And so they uploaded the font into their assets folder, and then we spent like 2 days trying to figure out how to get this stupid asset pipeline thing to work. And they had a lot of trouble with it, even though they were very bright students. So this asset pipeline thing is a pretty tricky thing. Just to explore it a little bit, what I'd like you to do now is exactly what it says here. So it's just putting an image file somewhere in your app, and then just make it show up on your app. So make it run locally. Just try to use that image tag helper to make it run locally. Image tag. Try to use image tag to make it just show up anywhere on your app. Totally doesn't matter. Then push up that change to Heroku, and then just see what happens. So oh, it says 15 minutes, but I'm going to say 10. I don't think it'll take that long. Just take any image, plug it in there, and then push it up to Heroku and see what the difference is between local and on Heroku. Yeah. No, just do it in your existing Tuner Rails one. Oh, you mean for images?
Yeah.
The place you're going to put the image is in. Yep, exactly. In there. Mm-hmm. Cool. Any questions about what you're doing? Not in. Oh yeah, this dot keep thing. If you haven't seen this before, all this does is ensure this folder shows up on GitHub. The way GitHub works is GitHub ignores any folders that don't have anything in them. So if I were to remove this dot keep and push this up to GitHub, that images folder would be gone. The whole purpose of dot keep is just to have some file in there so that it still shows up on GitHub. It doesn't actually do anything, so you can safely delete it if you want. Okay, any other questions?
Is there a way where we can just drag and drop a file from the location to Atom?
You know, I'm not actually sure. Let's find out. Try to put Jigglypuff in there. Huh. Yep, guess not.
So how do you do it? Do you always have to go like the CD open?
You can CD, or you can just open it up in the Finder and just drag and drop it in here. Same thing. Cool, so I'm going to put a timer for 10 up on the board. And if you're having any trouble or any questions, then just holler and let me know. That's just a way of, I know when you get commit, it opens up Atom or something, and you check your commit message in there. You dash n, you can just check your commit message right in that. You probably know that it was back in the day.